The loft smelled like cold brew and unfinished business. Kael Winters stood barefoot at the glass wall of his Seattle studio apartment, 28 floors above a city that had already decided who he was. He wore a black oversized hoodie pushed up at the sleeves, gray sweatpants, and no socks. His hair was slightly grown out, the kind of unbothered length that looked like a choice. On his wrist, a single matte black bracelet. Nothing else. No rings. He had stopped wearing the ring after everything collapsed. Behind him on the concrete kitchen counter sat a cream-colored card inside a navy envelope. His phone had already buzzed 4 times. The Halcyon Gala. The most watched philanthropic event in the Pacific Northwest. His label wanted him there. His therapist had said nothing. His gut said run that he picked up the card. Black tie. +1 warmly invited that he almost set it down. Every person in his orbit was either a headline waiting to happen or someone collecting receipts. His manager had already sent a list. Models. Influencers. A senator's daughter. All of them made sense on paper. None of them felt like a knock. 3 short taps. Quick and no nonsense. Yeah, he said. The door opened and Zara Osei stepped inside carrying a canvas tote and a biodegradable coffee cup she had clearly grabbed from the lobby. She wore a fitted sage green crewneck tucked into wide-leg caramel trousers, small silver studs in her ears, and white low-top sneakers that had seen better days. Her locks were pulled up into a loose puff with a few falling around her jaw. She looked completely unbothered by the fact that this apartment cost more than her yearly salary. She always had. She was his project coordinator. Had been for 18 months. She knew every deadline, every writer request, every press obligation he had ghosted. She asked for nothing except her direct deposit and the occasional honest answer. The Linden brief is finalized, she said, dropping the tote on the island. Your vocal coach rescheduled to Friday. Also your brother called twice, so that means he needs money. Kael turned and looked at her. Actually looked. Like he was noticing something he had walked past 100 times. Do you have anything you could wear to a gala? He asked. Zara stopped moving. She set the coffee down slowly. That is a deeply random question. I know. Kael. I know what I am asking. She crossed her arms. It is 9 p.m. on a Wednesday. Why are you asking me about my wardrobe right now? He picked up the navy envelope and slid it across the counter toward her. She read it. Her face stayed completely neutral, but she set the card down a little too carefully. You want to bring me? I need someone real. Everyone else is a performance. I work for you. I know exactly what you are to me. That is why I am asking. Zara looked at the card for a long moment. Then at him. I do not own anything remotely close to black tie, she said quietly. Kael almost smiled for the first time in weeks. That is the only problem I actually know how to fix. The boutique was closed to the public. Kael had made one call. That was all it ever took, which was exactly the kind of thing Zara had spent 18 months pretending not to notice. She stood in front of a floor-length mirror inside a softly lit back room that smelled like cedar and new fabric. The dress they had chosen was deep burgundy, structured at the shoulders, fitted through the waist, and just long enough to graze the floor. She wore her locks down for the first time he had ever seen, a thin gold cuff on her upper arm, and black heels that were simple but exact. She looked like she had been to 100 galas. She had been to 0. Kael stood a few feet behind her, changed now into a fitted black tuxedo with no tie, the top button open, a simple watch on his wrist. Dark and composed and pretending to look at his phone. He was not looking at his phone. Stop, she said to his reflection. I am not doing anything. You are staring and you are doing that thing where you think very loudly. He put his phone in his pocket. You look different. I look like myself in a fancy dress. That is what I mean. Zara turned away from the mirror and faced him directly. The room felt smaller suddenly. The cedar smell felt warmer. Why did everything fall apart for you last year? She asked. Not a gentle question. Just a real one. Kael's jaw shifted. You know why? It was everywhere. I know what the internet says. I am asking what actually happened. The silence lasted 4 seconds. She counted. She told a story that was half true, he said. The half that was true was bad enough. The half that was not true finished everything I had built. He looked at the floor. I never got to explain. By the time I tried, nobody was listening. Zara nodded slowly. I believed you, she said. From the beginning. I never said it because it was not my place, but I need you to know that. Kael looked up, something moved across his face that she had never seen before. Not gratitude. Closer to relief. The kind that almost breaks you when it finally arrives. We should go, she said, picking up her small clutch. Zara. Do not make it weird. I am not making it weird. You are looking at me like that again. Like what? She walked past him toward the door. Like I am something you are just now realizing you have been looking for. She did not wait for his answer, she did not need to. The gala was exactly what Zara had expected. Crystal chandeliers. Conversations that sounded like negotiations. Women in gowns who laughed at the right volume. Men in tuxedos who smiled like press releases, and then there was Kael, who moved through all of it like he was allergic to it, staying close to her the entire night in a way that was not professional. Not anymore, they had laughed at the same things. Quietly. Just between them. He had placed his hand briefly at the small of her back when someone cut in front of her and then removed it like he was not sure he had permission. She had not moved away. It was good. For 2.5 hours, it was actually good. Then she saw the notification, her phone buzzed inside her clutch and she glanced down out of habit. A tagged post. A gossip account with 400,000 followers. A photo taken from across the room, Kael leaning toward her laughing, the headline already typed and live, Kael Winters brings unknown woman to Halcyon Gala. Sources say she is paid staff. Is this a PR stunt? Sources say. She looked up and scanned the room. Her eyes landed on a woman in silver near the bar. Delilah Voss. A freelance entertainment journalist who had once been Kael's publicist before the fallout. She was watching Zara with a calm, deliberate smile and her phone face down in her hand. She had done it in real time. From inside the room, Zara closed her clutch. I need some air, she said evenly. Kael turned. He read her immediately. What happened? She showed him the screen. He went very still. Not angry. Something worse. Tired in a way that went all the way down. It was Delilah, Zara said quietly. She is standing right there and she is smiling at us. Kael looked across the room. Delilah gave a small wave. She was the source last year too, he said. Very quiet. Very certain. The story about me. She was the one. The chandeliers above them suddenly felt very heavy. Zara looked at him. How long have you known? He said nothing. Kael. How long? 3 weeks. Zara stepped back. 1 step. Just one. But it landed like a wall. You knew who destroyed you and you said nothing, she said. Her voice was level but her hands were not. You brought me into your world knowing she was still in it and you did not warn me. I was going to tell you after tonight. That is not good enough. She walked toward the exit. Alone. Through every camera and every staring face, in her burgundy dress with her locks down and her gold cuff catching the light, she walked like someone who had never needed saving. She just wished she did not feel like crying. She did not quit. That surprised him. She came in Monday morning in an oversized olive cargo jacket, a white fitted tee, straight-leg jeans, and her locks back up. She set a revised contract proposal on his kitchen counter next to his untouched breakfast and looked at him with the most controlled expression he had ever seen on a human face. "I renegotiated my own terms," she said. "Hazard pay. Full media non-disclosure from your end. And I want it in writing that I have approval rights over any public event you invite me to from this point forward." Kael sat down. "You stayed. I have student loans and a little sister starting college in the fall. So yes. I stayed. That is not the only reason. Do not. Zara. I said do not." He stood. The morning light came through the floor-to-ceiling windows behind him, Seattle gray and cold, the kind of light that does not pretend to be beautiful. He wore a simple white crewneck and dark jeans and no bracelet. For the first time in months, no armor at all. "Delilah released a second story this morning," he said. "About you. Your background. Your finances. She dug into your family." Zara's stillness broke for exactly 1 second. Just one. Then it rebuilt itself. "What did she say?" "That your father is in debt and that you took this job to pay it off. She framed it like you were using me." "Was she wrong?" Zara said softly. "Not ashamed. Just honest." "About the facts?" "Partially." He looked at her. "About who you are?" "Completely." Zara looked at the contract proposal on the counter. Then at the window. Then at him. "I talked to a journalist last night," she said. "A real one. I gave her the full story about Delilah. Everything. Including what she did to you last year and what she did at the gala." She paused. "It runs tomorrow." Kael went very still. "You did that for me." "I did it because it was true and true things deserve to be said." She swallowed. "But also yes. A little bit for you." He crossed the distance between them in 3 steps. Not fast. Not dramatic. Just certain. "I do not know how to do this," he said. Standing close enough that she could see the exhaustion in his face and the honesty underneath it. "I have been burned enough times that I stopped learning how." "I know," she said. "But I want to try. With you. Specifically." "Kael, this is complicated. Everything real is." Zara looked at him for a long time, then her phone buzzed. Then his. Then both of them at once. The story had not waited until tomorrow. It was already live. The internet did what the internet does. It burned fast and bright and then it shifted, the way it always does when the truth turns out to be more interesting than the story. Delilah Voss deleted her accounts by noon. By evening, Kael's name was trending for the first time in a year with nothing attached to it that made him want to disappear. He sat on the floor of his studio with his back against the couch, laptop open, and Zara beside him in a heather gray hoodie she had grabbed from his closet, her locks down again because somewhere in the last 12 hours they had stopped being formal with each other and neither of them had made an announcement about it. Outside the floor-to-ceiling windows, Seattle had finally decided to offer some sun. It came in sideways and gold and landed on the concrete floor between them like a third presence in the room. "You are going to get offers now," she said, scrolling through her own phone. "Good ones. Real ones. Probably. You should take some of them. Probably." She looked up at him. "Stop agreeing with everything I say. It is unsettling." He laughed. Actual, unguarded, the kind that does not calculate its own sound. She had heard him laugh before, but not like that. Not like someone who had briefly forgotten to protect himself. "My sister is going to want to meet you," he said. "I am still your employee technically." "Yeah, about that contract proposal." "What about it?" He turned toward her on the floor. "Close. No performance, no press, no Delilah, no gala. Just the two of them and some sideways Seattle sun and a morning that had been earned." What if we renegotiated the whole thing, he said quietly. From scratch. Zara looked at him for a long moment. Her face did the thing it did when she was deciding whether to say the honest thing or the safe thing. She had always been better at honest. I need you to understand something first, she said. I am not a soft landing for someone who is still healing. I have my own damage. My own history. If we do this, it is not a rescue story. It is just two messy people deciding to be honest with each other consistently. That is all I want, he said. Consistently. Then yeah, she said softly. We can renegotiate. He reached over and covered her hand with his. Not a grand gesture. No music. Just contact. Just presence. Outside, Seattle kept going. The sun stayed. The city did not care about any of it, and for the first time in longer than either of them could name, that was enough. The end.